If you have a sense of history, right, you would all remember probably what you were doing. A lot of you would remember what you were doing on the 2nd of April, 2011. 10 years since that iconic night when MS Dhoni sealed India's second World Cup triumph with that six that is so often talked about. Of course, Gautam Gambhir's heroics with the bat, 97. You heard him on Sports Today earlier in the evening. There was Mahendra Singh Dhoni's unbeaten 91 and Yuvraj Singh's all-round efforts right through the tournament. Sachin Tendulkar's prolific batting in the World Cup. Zahir Khan's mastery with the ball. So it's been that, and it just revolutionized once again certain facets of Indian cricket, and it's a good time as any to look back at that night at the Wankhede Stadium. With me, I have two of our superstars, Deep Das Gupta and Pragyan Oja. Pragyan Oja, welcome back. It's great to see both of you gentlemen back because Deep, he's been busy with his commentary stints, traveling all across the country. He'll travel soon for the IPL again, and Pragyan Oja, of course, played in the Road Safety Series. Deep, if I can start with you, what do you remember of that night? Where were you?
Right. So I remember I was in Mumbai itself. I had tickets, but I had a meeting because I was handling the Pune IPL franchise, and I think the IPL was starting in a week's time or 5 or 7 days time. So we had this very important meeting and stuff like that to organize, and I can't forgive myself. I was there in Mumbai. I had tickets, and I didn't. But I didn't miss out on the celebrations though.
Deep, you had tickets and you did not go to the Wankhede. Do you know how many calls I got that night? I was inside the stadium, covering that game, and during that game, I kid you not, I got about 17 calls after the toss till the time Sri Lanka came out to bat, asking me if I had tickets. I don't know why a lot of people thought I might have had access to tickets and why I would deal with tickets. And the oh god, yeah, okay, that's
Yeah, so listen, I really do regret, but I had a lot of work.
yeah,
With
yeah,
IPL starting weeks time and all that, I, that's no excuse. Missing out on a World Cup final is an excuse. When I thought, you know what, I'm going to watch it on television. That's much better. But after that, because I was in Mumbai, I realized how bad it was in terms of, or rather, how good it was. There were jams, there were people honking, and that honking went on till 6 a.m. in the morning, and you could see that, and it was wonderful.
yeah. Nobody slept in India that night, and if we were in Mumbai and around Marine Drive, I doubt a lot of people might have got any sleep. Pragyan, yeah, yeah.
I have a question for Deep Bhai. Okay, you missed out the game, but what about the after
Like I said, I did not miss
after
out on
game,
that.
the celebration that they had?
I did not miss out on that.
We know that you have survived here in front of us, but did you attend that party?
I managed to step into Taj, yes.
So how did you step out, or somebody got you out?
Let's not get there again.
No, I was just joking. But on a serious note, one of the best after 83 and 2007.
Yeah.
This was terrific, and it was more so because we it was played in India, and everybody knew that 2011 was Sachin Paji's like last World Cup, and as Yuvipa, Virat, Mahi Bhai, all these guys, they had repeatedly said that they wanted to do it for Sachin Paji. And yes, when you talk about Sachin Paji today, we saw his tweet saying that he's been hospitalized, nothing serious, but he's under observation. So we pray that he is out of the hospital and fit again, and with that big smile, the way he greets everybody. I know Rajashrida and Deep Bhai, they know how he smiles and how he greets everyone. So we wish that. And saying that, also the other thing, yes, we were part of that road safety series, and a few of our cricketers unfortunately tested positive. I'm fine, I'm good. It's been a blessing that nothing has happened to me or my family. But I pray that everybody should be careful. You should not take anything for granted, because we were in a bubble, if it can happen there, you know, you never know from where it is coming. After so much, uh, we took really good care, the team that was handling, but still, at times it happens. This disease is such. So my only request would be, please take care of yourself. Don't take things for granted.
Right. And of course, Sachin has been hospitalized only for precautionary measures, and
Yeah, 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 yeah.
so the doctors can medicate him under his under their observation. But Pragyan, you mentioned the road safety series. That was an India versus Sri Lanka final. The World Cup was an India Sri Lanka
Yes,
final.
yes, yes.
Sachin Tendulkar, Yuvraj Singh, Yusuf Pathan, they were all part of that game. As was a couple of the Sri Lankan players. Tilakaratne Dilshan played in the road safety series. He
Kushal.
was Yes, yes. So there were quite a few memories. I'm sure there must have been some conversation around it. And tell me about your memory in a sense. You must have been home watching that. Like Deep said, unfortunately for work, he could not go to the final, but every Indian that night was glued to the television sets or wherever you were, right? What were your memories? Because I'll tell you what, I was at the stadium, right, covering the World Cup final for ESPN Star, and I was walking around the ground. I was also trying to gauge in audience reactions for articles data. And as it happened, I was sitting in one of the crowd sections when Sachin got out, and there was deadly silence. Both of you gentlemen would know and what it is like to be in a silent, packed Indian stadium. It gives you goosebumps. It's like the world has come to an end. And from there on to Gambhir's innings and Dhoni, what were your emotions like at home?
Ah, I think I was no different from others. As an Indian, when Indian team is winning the World Cup, any game that they win is special. But winning the World Cup in India and in Mumbai, it cannot be better than that. I think everybody were on the roads. Even I remember in the semi-finals we had both the prime ministers come and watch the game, India and Pakistan when they were playing, and then we saw a few of our superstars from Bollywood and also some politicians. They came onto the road and they were celebrating. That it had that much magnitude. So I think it's one of the best memories, because when it was 83, I was not even born. So 2011 is like my I can tell to my kids and my grandkids that this was when India won the World Cup and I was part of it, even if we were not in the dressing room, but all of us were part of it. That is how this World Cup is so special for all of us. And saying that, yes, Mahibhai got that, last ball six, that whatever it is, he finished it with a six. But the contribution that everyone did was superb. Like if you talk about Zach, he was like the spearhead. He did everything, and it's not about bowling those quick lines or anything. For me, the most important thing was breaking those partnerships in the middle overs. That is where the game is decided, and that's what he did to the perfection. If you watch every game, he used to get you those crucial breakthroughs at that juncture where they were supposed the opponents were supposed to plan or were underway to build a big partnership. So that's what Zach did. Then we had Munaf Patel. Then we had Suresh Raina, Yusuf Pathan, and Sachin Paji, Virupa, then Gauti Bhai. And who can forget Yuvipa, the way he was a man of the tournament. So I think it was a collective effort. And one man, I feel, who contributed indirectly, even if he was retired, that was Saurav Ganguly. If you see the players that have performed in the 2011 World Cup, and you see Virender Sehwag, Yuvraj Singh, Zahir Khan, Ashish Nehra, uh, and I'm missing somebody. There were 5 or 6 members who were nurtured by Dada. He was
Right.
the one who had built that team. And see, after so many years, they gave it back to the country. So that is the reason why I say you should always believe in the process. Yes, it will take some time and it is tempting because right now India has got so much talent that it is easy for at times to pick and choose players. But I believe that we need to follow that process where you can create these kind of history again and again.
Absolutely. No, all those investments and they bore fruit that night and that for years, right? You look at the World Cup final tonight, like Pragyan said, he wasn't even born in '83. For a lot of cricketers in this era, Washington Sundar tweeted he was about 10 or 11 when India won the World Cup. Rishabh Pant must have been 9 or 10. Ishan Kishan, you look at all these guys, Hardik was so young. And that night must have, right, even if for a 10 or 11-year-old, I don't know what kind of memories they might have had, but that has revolutionized Indian cricket in a way because they've now gone on to follow a similar pattern, like '83 must have been for a lot of cricketers in the era before that.
Yeah, I think it's done a little more than that. In fact, if you look at Monday as a format, 50 over format, it's a dying format, if I may say so. I mean, it might sound a little harsh, but it's been like that for a while. Ever since T20 came in, it was somewhere in between. It didn't have uh, the purity, as we might call it, like Test cricket. We didn't have that excitement or entertainment like T20. So 50 is somewhere in between. I think India winning the 2011 World Cup, because by then T20 already had become this great format, right? So I think India winning that format has kept this format alive and people still interested. I mean, obviously, as you mentioned, I think 2011 for the next generation is what 83 was for us. I mean, we started playing cricket to a great extent because of it. So I'm sure the next generation, 2011, must have been that. But I'm saying just for 50 over cricket as a format, it's very important that I think India won that 2011 World Cup because it's still there. I mean, even though it might not be the most preferred format, you still would want Test or T20, but it's still there. So I think from that perspective, also 2011 was
No, it's a very interesting point, Deep, you bring up because to say that to underline the significance of the 2011 World Cup prime. But Deep, also as a follow up, that where do you think India stands? I know it's a long time to sort of assess that, but you also have
yeah.
2015, right? You also look at the way the format has changed from tournament to tournament, 2015 onward, then between 2015 and 2019, and 2019 and now, 2 years away from another World Cup. But how do you assess the ODI setup around the world and India's place in it? Of course, they're a good team, but are they in sync with the limited overs tactics that you see internationally?
I think Indian team, obviously, there's been a lot of chat, especially this England series, that India should be more attacking. I think India should play the way India knows to play. There is this tendency just because England plays in a certain manner, going hard at the top, because they also have the resources. But
Yeah.
we don't necessarily have to follow that. I mean, we have players like, let's say, a Rohit Sharma or a Virat. It's a strike rate of 80, but by the time they're 30, 40 deliveries they play, they go on to get a strike at 120. So not necessarily do we have to follow. So, I know where you're coming from, but I think India at this point in time is in a very good position as far as ODIs are concerned. I think it'll be in the top three conditions, whether you play in New Zealand, England, India, wherever. I think it's in the top three. And also the heartening thing is the way the youngsters. So, I think that is not just a good sign that the youngsters are coming in, that they're also pushing people who are incumbent. For example, I think Shikhar is a great example. I mean, someone like Patel scoring those runs or Prithvi Shaw scoring those runs in Vijay Hazare Trophy. You already have Mayank, you have KL Rahul. So there is this very healthy competition there. I think that will only augurs well for Indian cricket. And the other important thing that you mentioned was the fact that it's still 2023 November. So if the World Cup was to happen right here, right now, like let's say tomorrow, I think India was still one of the favorites to win it. But even if in 2023, I think things will only get better. Hopefully, will only get better.
Right. No, and Pragyan, this is also an important reflection of the way India has approached ODIs in the last 10 or maybe even before that 15 years, because it was building up. Like Deep said, the way India have held their own in the ODI format, why it was so important, like you mentioned, years of investments, how they bore fruit. It's also important to see how they have also, dominated this sphere, because is this the most dominant era for Indian cricket when it comes to ODIs and shorter formats, because of what they did. And also 2007, we all remember that heartbreak. You crashed out in the opening stages to win the World Cup in 2011 and semi-finals in 2015 and 19. Yes, and we in India have been a little critical when India missed out, but those are the expectations. In between, the Champions Trophy also happened in 2013, which we won. But where are the gaps, do you think, or do you think that this is actually the most dominant era for Indian cricket in ODIs?
If you look at a batting, they're dominant, and the format is such where I'm not worried about the batsman at all, because if you look at the changes in the law and the uh, what do you call the rules that they have, like two white balls and then five fielder inside the ring. So if you look at these things and the wickets are getting flatter and flatter, I'm not worried about the batsman. I'm talking about the bowlers. If you look at, we have always recently we have been struggling with our spinners to find spinners who can deliver, because this format, you need to give that kind of confidence and a sense of belonging to our bowlers. This is where they are going to get hit. The approach has become different now. um, First 25 overs team are playing differently, and the last 25 they're playing differently. They have been doing a lot of different things what we've never seen before. England has a different approach, Australia has a different, South Africa has a different, New Zealand they have a different approach. So we need to find our fifth and sixth bowler, and India, if you compare with all these SENA countries, you will see those countries they have one or two all-rounders, seeming all-rounders. So that's where they make a lot of difference. And in India, we have always we're on a hunt to find a seamer all-rounder. We have now Hardik Pandya, but we'll see how he bowls. If he is ready and if he does well, so I think it'll change a lot of dynamics, and then we can play around with our maybe sixth bowler. So we'll see how it goes. That's where I'm thinking India should be focusing on. Bowlers are something you need to back them. You need to give them that cushion because of the format and the change in the rules.
No, and Pragyan, also the change in the rules. They also, you look around in ODI cricket internationally. There's some ridiculous numbers coming out now, right? And I don't mean it in a bad way. It's like 7.5 runs are being chased down in New Zealand, especially smaller, shorter boundaries. You have high scoring games in Australia. You've already seen them in England. Now, trend is beginning to show up in India more consistently. Of course, in 2013, you look back at the ODI series against Australia at home. Very high scores were chased down with 7 or 8 wickets in hand. Where do the bowlers go, right? Because
I think if
it's
you
between
compare
2011 and yeah.
if you compare the 90s, the 2000, and the lately that we are having, if you see in the 90s and early 2000, a 250 was a score where team used to win, and if it was 280, 290, then the other team was like totally out of the game. I think bowlers had something to say, but now I feel recently, if you see in Pune what happened, I really didn't enjoy. It was not a competition between the bat and the ball. As a cricketer, I feel there should always be a competition between bat and ball. The bowler should never bowl to to survive. You should bowl to take wickets or bowl to show that he's competitive enough. With this kind of challenges, it'll be tough on the bowlers. If you compare the batting and the bowling, I think Deep Bhai can tell you about batting. But for me, it was clear that bowlers were finding it very tough.
I mean, there is no two ways. Pragyan mentioned, Rajashri, that I mean, you only have four fielders outside in the middle overs. You killed almost killed the spinners. I mean, the finger spinners especially. I mean, just four fielders outside. I mean, listen, if anyone who can sweep and can step out, you're dead as a spinner. I mean, you can easily play either over extra cover or sweep it, right? So you can't protect these two things at the same time. So I think that way Pragyan is so right. And the other important thing is, fours and six, which apparently excites everyone and everything else. But there is a danger of too much of it. I mean, suddenly fours and sixes have become normal, right? It's not
Yeah.
an event anymore because every over you're getting one four or a six. So
Deep
it's the novelty factor of a boundary is slowly going. I mean, every over, if you're seeing a four or a six, then after a while, it'll be like, okay, it's going to be like a single. It's like, okay, we've taken a single, or we've hit a boundary.
Dubai in 6 balls, if
Yeah.
you get a boundary and 4 singles and 1 ball is dot, you get 8 runs.
Yeah.
That is without even taking a chance. So
Yeah.
imagine the situation of a bowler. And if you are a good batsman and you know the field that you have one extra fielder in, you can easily look to get a boundary. And with the wickets that you play on, and and then you just have to do is get those singles, and it is very easy to get those singles. So you end up getting 8 to 9 runs without even taking chances.
Yeah.
No, and you gentlemen mentioned some very important points. And Deep, you look at the influence of '83. You look at the influence of 2011. You've had some very good bowlers coming up. But now, what would be? Let's say India win the 2023 World Cup now, right? What sort of players would you influence? If bowlers, spinners especially, would be very scared to play the game from what you're saying. So it is also incumbent upon the administrators to look at that and maybe do a rejig. This is maybe the two new balls, maybe the fielders or the four fielder rule in the middle overs. Where do you see the changes coming through?
Uh, I don't know. I mean, to be very honest, the first thing I'll change is to get an extra fielder outside. I mean, I'll definitely get an extra fielder outside in the middle overs because middle overs, I mean, I don't know. You've got to give some relief to the bowlers. I think just four fielders outside does not, for me, make sense. Uh, but I guess that's one of the things that I will. But having said that, quality will shine through. I mean, without a shadow of doubt, if you have quality, a quality spinner will shine through. So I just have a feeling. I mean, listen, I think power plays and the death overs, almost every team is thereabouts. I think bottom line are the middle overs. I think the reason why England is ahead of some of the other countries in white ball cricket is because of the middle overs, whether it's 7 to 14 in T20 or it's 11 to 35, 36 in ODIs. I think that's the only reason why England might be a little ahead of the others.
Pragyan, I believe, has a point to
For
make in
me,
terms
yeah.
of because he's
For
very
me, I
happy with that
think
suggestion of yeah.
For me, I think specialist spinner and specialist fast bowler will slowly get out of the limited over format. You will have all rounders. That's how this format is all. So you will have spinners who can bat. They can give you those 20s, 30s, quick 20s and 30s, and even fast bowlers also. Someone like Shardul,
Okay,
someone like
but
Ravindra
again, my
Jadeja.
question is this. So this is what I think England does, right? I mean, kind of their philosophy is to bat deep and score 350 runs or chase down
and
350 runs.
have a big pool of bowlers also.
Right. So my point is this. My question is this now again. If you look at post 2019 World Cup victory, England's record in ODI is not that great. So my point or my submission is this: that even though I hear what you're saying, this is the same reasoning or argument which was given when T20 came in, where a lot of teams wanted a lot of all-rounders. But I still think there will always be a place for a good wicket-taking bowler. If you're a wicket-taking bowler, I don't care whether you bat or not. If you have the ability to take wickets, I think I would actually back at least out of those five. I will back four out and out bowlers who can pick wickets. Number five and six, yes, all rounders who can bowl. So fifth and sixth bowling option could be that. This is my submission.
Yes, but I feel little different here. I'm not saying everybody will be a all-rounder, but I'm saying like you will have two seamers who can do the job for you. But I'm very sure when you talk about the spinners, it will definitely be someone who can bat. Definitely, that goes without saying. So the things have changed that way. And for me, if anything that they can do, if ICC has to do something to make sure that bowlers survive, there are two things. One is that fifth fielder has to go out, some breathing space for the bowlers, and instead of two new balls, you can have one new ball and one semi-new that the other captain chooses, that we used to do from 34th over. So that is something you can do. At least that will help the game somehow. I feel two new balls in conditions like subcontinent. I think bowlers don't have, they have very less say.
Right. And it's remarkable to see how the game has changed only 10 years ago, right? To 70 odd, and it was the already talks whether India would
Now
give
I think
pressure.
400 is also, you're not sure about
Nowadays, 350 in a World Cup final would be no pressure, right? I mean, you're talking of how high pressure that game was, Steve. It was Pragyan, that these scores are going to be, I mean, 270 now in a World Cup final. Any team would just take it. It's like, yeah, this is ours. We'll probably win by 8 or.
let me tell you, Rajesh, the one thing. Finals, semi-finals. When we talk about knockouts and the semi-finals, finals, the pressure are different.
Yeah.
Anything that you cross 250, 260, they are under pressure because there are a lot of things that goes in your head. If you see the finals or semi-finals, they're never high scoring games. Very rarely you will see the games are like where the teams are chasing such huge total and then reaching the finals because of the pressure that the teams they feel.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and times are changing. But before we go, gentlemen, quickly, Dhoni to Kohli. What do you see, Deep, of what has Kohli carried on from MS Dhoni, and what is the major changes? What are the major change in attitude apart from the skill set, like the two of you explained? What has Kohli carried from that era into this, and what is working so well for India?
I think every team. I mean, it improves, right? As Pragyan rightly mentioned. I mean, starting from Saurabh, I'm just talking about last 20 years, right? Because that group had come in together. Then from there to MSD, where MSD had those resources from that generation. On top of that, got their own stuff. Own players like let's say Munaf or Irfan and all the new lot, including Pragyan and all that. And then with Virat, you have that backup. Someone like Rohit and your spinners, your Jadeja and everyone. Plus, he's added new guys in it. So I think, I mean, it's very unfair to say what's carried on. I think it's a continuous process. There will be new people coming in. People who are good, they will stay back, they will carry on. The nucleus will remain the same. Whoever comes later will find the same nucleus of these old guys who've done so well, and the new guys will come in and join the group. So I think, I mean, that's how I think teams, I mean, good teams, they survive. They survive because there is this process of carrying on from one captain or one generation to the other, and obviously the system provides you so. The system provides you with quality players.
Absolutely.
This is exactly what I meant, by spot on. Like when you're passing on it to the next generation, that transition period, you need to have that core team. I'm not criticizing this team, but I'm just saying, like when Virat Kohli is captaining and when he's planning big, yes, he's got a pool of cricketers who can come and deliver. We've seen in Australia, we saw in the T20s, we saw in the one days, everybody that they got in, they were contributing. But the most important thing is when the transition period happens, you need to have that core team. But right now, I hardly see the core team. If you look at Rohit, Virat, maybe Bumrah and Jaddu, two or three guys. but core team has, it is supposed to be like, at least 5 or 6 guys. So I think that is something which I think they can plan ahead, and make sure that, that transition, whenever it happens with all this core team taking care of the cricket that is, we all are fan of. I'm not trying to criticize the process. I'm just telling you this. This is how that, from Sunil Gavaskar sir, Kapil Paji, from Kapil Paji to Azubai, from Azubai it came to Dada, from Dada to MSD. So you see, in every team they had 5, 6 core members who made sure that, the team doesn't get affected in the transition period. So that is something which will be a challenge for Kohli and his team.
Right, right. Plenty to take inspiration from, plenty to learn from. But this is the reason why we are so passionate in this country about this game, about cricket, and this is why we wanted to look back and on that iconic night, gentlemen. It was just that magical feeling, right? You're walking out of the Wankhede and you see like Clive Lloyd, Sunil Gavaskar, Ravi Shastri, they all had to walk back to their hotel. By the way, the team bus. By the way,
We had Deepa here with a ticket in his hand but could not travel to the
No,
ground.
I was
Pragyan,
okay, let me clarify this. Manish and I were supposed to go, as in Pandey. Both of us were supposed to go. Manish went on. I said, I'm not coming. You take someone else. So he took someone else. Just to clarify.
So the ticket was made to good use. There was somebody used that ticket, but it was insane, right? So many cricket matches, and there were trumpets being blown. There were cars out in Marine Drive was there was no standing space in and around that area. We had to walk from there to that hotel to the over. It's like it was a 15 to 25 minute walk that night from the Wankhede down to that hotel, and nobody was in the mood to sleep, and it's just great to recollect those memories. But Deep Dasgupta, Pragyan Ojha, thank you so much for doing this. Thank you so much for recalling those moments on April 2nd, 2011, and where Indian cricket is headed, the comparisons, and how the ODI format has changed, and how India have done well to actually hold on to their position of strength. Of course, and they haven't been bad at all, right? Since that night 10 years ago, semi-final in 2015, semi-final in 2019, and Indian fans and the players would hope to finally cross the line in 2023, just a little over 2 years from now. But that's that from this show. As usual, great chatting with both Deep Dasgupta and Pragyan Ojha. There'll be, of course, a lot of build-up to the Indian Premier League, which also starts in exactly 1 week from now, the 14th edition. But at 8:30, do not miss Boria Mojumdar and Harbhajan Singh recall again, relive that moment on the 2nd of April 2011, just a little under half an hour on Sports Today. Please do join us then for that brilliant interview with Harbhajan Singh. Thank you so much. Have a very good evening, and we'll be back with more through the weekend and the next week before the IPL starts.